So, hello everyone. We bring a topic that's very dear to a lot of women who are entering menopause, the symptoms and how do you manage the symptoms. So, we have a very special guest today, Deborah, right? Deborah is from
Hello.
Belfast. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you
And
very much. It's a pleasure to
yeah,
join you today. Thank you.
absolutely. So, she used to be working in the emergency medicine and managing the whole team of trauma, right, in the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
And from there, your journey to actually helping women manage menopause effectively, that is your journey now. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did this journey start? And now what you're doing, what you're doing?
Of course, Amrita. Thank you. And lovely to meet everybody. So I grew up in Belfast in Northern Ireland. And as you said, working in the hospital, we were frontline to the trauma during that time. We saw also a lot of trauma to men and women. But what struck a real chord with me at that point was the psychological distress for the women when they had any trauma to their faces. So from working in that unit, I then progressed to working in medical aesthetics because I wanted to start helping empower women by making sure that they had the looks that they wanted, because they were all of that age, they wanted to go back to work. And we always want to look bright and fresh and really, as if we're presenting ourselves in the best way. So what then transpired was that as I was getting older, my patients were as well. So our conversations not only were about what they wanted doing to their face, but they had hot sweats, their hair was falling out, they were putting on weight, they didn't recognize themselves anymore, they were having problems at work. And when I was listening to them, I thought, actually, that's like me as well, because I had started to put on weight. I didn't have hot sweats, but I had panic attacks and tremors and insomnia. So I started digging deep really into this and realized that I was going through my menopause at the same time as they were. And I, at that stage, was not as fully aware of what was happening. And I thought, well, I can't help my patients if I don't know. So then I went into speciality with menopause, and that's been my journey now for the last 15 years. And it's such an amazing gift and opportunity to be able to work with women and help them realize that they can take back control in their own lives with their menopause.
I think beautiful work. You're doing amazing work. So help these women guide what they should do, and just the framework part of it. I mean, most of the women go through all the symptoms that you described, right? Hot flushes, palpitations, insomnia, weight gain, and suddenly women, who look so beautiful in their early 20s and now, in their 50s, it's kind of heartbreaking, right? Not to be able to recognize yourself if you're putting on weight and doing all things.
Yes, you're absolutely right, because not only obviously are there some physical symptoms that people go through, but then there's the mental approach to it as well. That's very difficult, because one minute they're just walking around in the prime of their life, and the next day they can wake up to having hot flushes, night sweats, insomnia. Then they wake in the morning with chronic fatigue. Then they have lots of coffee and carbohydrates to keep themselves going. So then they put on weight. And as the hormone level changes, and it changes quite dramatically at various times, then other things will start happening as well. They'll lose some libido, their relationships will change, and some other symptoms that are not so common. But the interesting thing, Amrita, is that not every woman will go through all of the symptoms, and no two women will ever go through the same thing as the other one. So very commonly people will say to me, my mother didn't have this. It doesn't matter. You're different and you're having your own journey. Yes. So it's a very unique experience for every woman.
Okay, so what do you tell them? How do they navigate?
Well, obviously what we do is actually try and understand what's actually happening to them, because it's a hormonal imbalance situation that's actually occurring, and we know that anyway. So the common ones like the hot sweats and the night sweats, what we'll actually do is tell them there are 3 or 4 things that they can actually do to help themselves. So they change their clothing, they have something that's cool for the daytime, and maybe layers they can take some off. A lot of ladies at this stage will really be benefiting if they take either bioidentical hormones or HRT if they want to go down that route. But because it's due to a lack of estrogen, they find they get pretty much immediate results by taking some supplements in the hormones.
Okay.
Not everybody wants to do that, but I think it's important to still keep your mind open. So that's one of the things. Lots of cool drinks. If you're a cigarette smoker, stop smoking, because we know that tobacco makes all of those things very much worse. And also what we know, that if people have had a surgical menopause, so they've had some of maybe uterus or their ovaries removed, they will more likely have much worse hot sweats and those early symptoms of menopause than somebody that actually haven't. So cutting out alcohol and caffeine, hot, spicy foods, unfortunately, also do it. And just keep yourself in a temperature that you can control within your own home and hopefully in your working environment as well.
So you talk about the supplements, and there's a hormone replacement therapy. Let's talk a little bit about those options.
Okay. So all of my patients go through a testing process, because I personally feel that unless we know where they're starting and what stage of chaos they're in, it's very difficult to actually roadmap for the rest of the time. So very commonly we will actually find out when we do the test that the woman is also subthyroid. So her thyroid levels are very low, and she may even have something called Hashimoto's. We also want to know what their cortisol levels are, because as far as I can see, most young women these days crash right into that menopause situation because they're running around being super busy. They've got families, they've got elderly parents, they're trying to hold on to a job, and they have no time for themselves. They don't stress. So they are constantly running in a state of fight and flight, which means that cortisol level is high. So when I get them and it's really much worse, then we actually try to reduce that. So we can do that by diet. I'd rather do a diet and a lifestyle change than putting them on medication for that. But if they have significant estrogen depletion and progesterone depletion, then my first port of call is bioidentical hormones. I personally like this because they are compounded in a pharmacy specifically for that one person. So they're very bespoke for them. And because we tend to use them either in gel form or in patch form, or if they're having any vaginal problems, in pessary, and they get to work and do what we want them to do within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good.
So these are like are they available in US also? The gel capsules you talk?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, very much. I mean, it's very big in the US. That's where I learned it anyway. So yes, yeah, they love it in the US.
Okay. And then other supplements. So what other? Okay, so estrogen. Of course, we talked about the estrogen part of it.
Yes.
So are there especially nutrients or some kind of a food that women should focus on as they are getting close to menopause?
So a very important thing for a lot of women to understand that they have to eat food that is natural, and by that, a lot of the meats that we eat, chickens and some, are fed a lot of food with hormones in them, and chemicals to make them bigger and fatter. So I will always say to all my ladies, think what your food has eaten before you eat it.
Because we don't know. That's the problem.
That is the big problem. So you don't know. So ideally if you want to have meat and chicken and that sort of thing, have grass-fed animals that are grass-fed, not with all the chemicals added. Think again about the milk that you're drinking, because milk comes from pregnant cows, and pregnant cows are fed estrogen. So again, there's a lot of estrogen in all the dairy products. So try to avoid those and go organic, or change it to a soya milk or a coconut milk and yogurt, because they're delicious as well. And then the other big thing to think about is what wrapping goes around the foodstuffs, especially in today's life when foods travel thousands of miles across the world. So that's also very important. And just also be aware of the chemicals that might be in your hair shampoos and the makeups that you're using, because all of them will contain something called extra estrogen, exogenous estrogen, and those will all interfere with your hormones. So you have to really have an overhaul of your whole body and what you're using and what you're actually ingesting. In terms of other supplements, for women, vitamin D is very, very important. But before you even start to look at supplements, we have to actually think, how is their gut behaving? What is happening to the microbiomes in the gut? because if the gut is working inefficiently, it can't absorb any of the other supplements that we're giving them. So really, they're just wasting all of that. So certainly vitamin D is very good for a lot of hot flushes and menopausal symptoms. Black cohosh is also very good.
Okay.
Soya milk and soya food products are also very good. I like to try and keep everything as natural as possible on that supplementary side, because getting up in the sunshine, taking time off for yourself and just allowing yourself to relax a little bit will help reduce a lot of the extreme conditions that they're feeling.
So, any particular type of vegetables that should women focus on? Cruciferous vegetables or something else? I mean, that's also something, right?
Yes, I mean, vegetables are very, very important for us, and absolutely the cruciferous ones. So we have broccoli and cauliflower, kale, spinach is amazing. Anything that's grown naturally from the ground up is very good for us.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and sweet potatoes, I don't know if you have them. We have sweet potatoes, which are very lovely. Squash is very good.
Yes.
That's very good for us as well. Pumpkin seeds. So a lot of the seeds that we would have, like flaxseed, linseed, and pumpkin seeds. Chia is also very good because these got flavonoids in them, so they will help nourish the body as it's going through menopause.
So what about women who have problems in sleeping, right, at night? And you said insomnia is one of the symptoms. What should they do?
So insomnia is probably one of the most chronic of symptoms. I certainly had it for years and years. So a lot of insomnia is bedtime rituals and actually allowing yourself to prepare to go to bed. I have children. I'm sure you've had children. And we had bedtime routines. So they got to know, they had an early tea in the evening. They played a little bit. They had a bath. They cooled down. You read them a bedtime story. You calmed them down, went to bed. We need to reteach ourselves how to go to bed. So ideally, you want to stop using your devices at least 90 minutes before you go to bed. You don't want to eat a heavy meal too many hours before you go to bed. Have a warm bath, because actually having a warm bath will reduce your body temperature, especially if you're having hot flushes. Make sure that your bedroom is dark and take out anything that's flashing or bright, because you're not going to sleep if you've got alarms buzzing and flashing at you. And have a nice warm drink. We do know that actually having literally a warm milk drink before bed will help reduce your stress levels. Don't listen to anything that's going to be automatic. Take up the old-fashioned book reading before you go to bed. And be like a child, because that process of reading really just switches your clock off. And then, of course, if you need to, you can take some supplements like melatonin is very good before you go to bed. What's the other one? Valerian is a very good herb to take before you go to bed as well. And they will help you relax a little more into sleep. Most women that I know tend to eat too late at night. So as they fall asleep, their bodies are still trying to digest their food. And invariably, they're going to wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe they need to go to the bathroom, or it just becomes a habit. So I'd say to most people, try and stay in bed. But if you're there longer than half an hour and you can't sleep, get up, but have a read of a book. Don't switch on your appliance. Don't look and see what's happening on social media, because that's not going to get you back to sleep. And then if you are an early waker, get up, get dressed, go outside, obviously if it's not dark, and get some fresh air and exercise, even if you're just walking for 10 or 15 minutes, because that sets and resets your body's circadian rhythm. And we all live in a rhythm of 24 hours. So we need to readdress that with ourselves, and getting a good circadian rhythm back in order will help us to reestablish a good night's sleep.
So you also recommend essential oils to use, or some kind of oils at night?
Some of the oils I love to recommend are lavender. Lavender is a very nice, relaxing one. Some peppermint oil can be very relaxing as well. Rosemary oil is very good to help you get to sleep as well. And generally, I tend to put it on the insides of the wrists or just on the back of their head and neck, so that they can just inhale it and have that lovely sensation. If they want to, they could have a candle lit in the room before they go to bed. Or you can get some lovely little heat sachets that you just slip on your pillow, and they just release that lovely patent swell as well.
Okay. Well, I see someone said hello. If you have any questions, people are watching, you're welcome to put it in the chat window and we can take the question. Someone said hello. I want to say hello back.
Hi.
If there are any questions, you can ask the question right now. We've just started doing FB Lives, so we're bringing top-notch guests from all over the world who can help you, deal with different type of issues. Anything else that you'd like to add, Deborah, before we wrap up today?
Well, yes, I think what I really want to emphasize, a lot of people tend to feel that their lives are over when they hit menopause. And I am very much an advocate that that's not the case. We are very lucky that we are a species that gets a second chance of having an amazing life. And really, I think of menopause as puberty in reverse. Because when you see all the things that happen when you're going into puberty, you get really irritated, you start developing breasts and hips and all the other stuff. Menopause is just the reverse. So puberty is getting us ready to live, and menopause is getting us ready. Really, the only thing it's doing is stopping us having children. Yes, our body has to go through that process, but we need to think of it as an amazing opportunity to be living healthily for a very long time. There is so much living to do after menopause. It should be a relief to get rid of it. But unfortunately, if I had my way, I would say, great, let's get on with this. Let's make ourselves healthy and well, because we're going to, please God, live for another 30 or 40 years. We need to be strong and healthy. I mean, if we go back to days where there were tribes, we were thought of the elders. We're the wisdom givers. So I think we need to go back to thinking that's how it is. It's not overnight. We are just at the beginning of our second lives.
Someone asked a question: is it normal to gain weight when someone's reaching menopause?
Yes, weight gain is very normal as you get into menopause, sadly, because what's actually happening is your metabolism starts to slow down. We as women are estrogen creatures, but obviously going into menopause, we stop releasing some of the estrogen from our ovaries. But our bodies are designed to have some estrogen going as we get older, so it gives us a reservoir. And we as women have a reservoir of estrogen cells in our midsection, our abdomen.
Oh, right here. Okay.
Yeah, right. You know where you get that midriff bulge?
Most people have a problem right here. Everyone has a problem. Yeah.
So what happens in menopause is that because you're not metabolizing this quickly and you're actually making more of the cells in your abdomen, then you start to slowly put on weight. A lot of it is to do with diet and lifestyle, but a lot of it is actually the changing hormone levels. So don't forget, in menopause, we're not just estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. The hormones that are actually making us hold on to the weight are insulin and cortisol, and how they work together with a third one called leptin. And they're all out of control. So we need to, when I see my ladies for weight loss, we have to take a picture of everything that they're doing and their history and work out how we can control the hormones that make you hungry and stop making you feel empty, and also how we can drop your cortisol levels and let your insulin work as it's designed to. So unfortunately, yes, most people will find they put on around about 10 pounds during the menopause phase. Yeah. I know. Shocking.
Yes, but it is. And
yeah, it's depressing.
But, I think women should really view menopause as liberating and try to control their weight. And how can you control the weight now when women are prone to putting on 10 extra pounds, which maybe...
Yeah, I know. No, I'm totally on board with you. So the main culprit is sugar. We all love sugar, and sugar generally is the go-to one, especially if you're feeling very tired during the day. So cut out sugar in your diet. Reduce carbohydrates that you're eating, such as the breads and the cookies and anything that has got flour in it, and try and replace those carbohydrates with more vegetables. Fruit is good, although it's still sugar, but if you're going to have fruit, have it fresh. And if you want to make it into a smoothie, put it into a smoothie with maybe some protein powders in that. And then you're not just getting too high of a glucose and fructose intake, because you're not going to burn it off as quickly as you would. Protein, of course, and fats are very important for us. We need the fats to keep all of our organs moving smoothly and then performing nicely as well. And protein we need to rebuild the cellular structure of our body as, again, we go through that menopausal change. Calories in and calories out are really not so important at the moment, unless you're having a lot of sugar or your fries, you're just gorging yourself too much. It's also a good idea in menopause to try and at least have a 4 to 5 hour gap between each meal. So you have breakfast at 8 o'clock, and then you'd have lunch around about 12 or 1 o'clock, and then your last meal should be no later than 7 p.m. in the evening. And the important thing is not to snack. Don't graze. Because when you graze, you push up your sugar levels, which pushes up your insulin levels, which grabs onto the sugar and just sits around your butt and your thighs. So those are the simple things that you can start doing in menopause without worrying too much.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Deborah. I think this is very informational. It's just a sneak peek of condensed version of what women do. Amazing session as always. I mean, you have wealth of information with so much experience, and we're bringing a masterclass with Deborah soon. So stay tuned. Let us know. We're very excited to offer these programs, hopefully within a month or so.
I know. I'm not going to give away too much information because it's just so exciting, and I want everybody in your wonderful group and the wonderful things that you're doing to tune in, because there's so much information. We'll take a little bit longer over, I think, because we don't want to rush it through.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a comment. Someone said, "Thank you so much. I loved it." So thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Anita. Thank you so much for having me, and have a lovely weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.